Every bottle is individually numbered. Sylter Hopfen beer is sold in 3/4-liter sparkling wine bottles. The hops are cultivated in Germany's northwestern island of Sylt. The location is as exclusive as the product. Thomas Kipka is the man behind the Sylter Hopfen beverage. He was the first person to actually cultivate hops on the island of Sylt. Every week during the summer, Kipka visits his hops fields to check on the progress of the crop.
It has to be really quite yellow and ripe, and there has to be this wonderful aroma of hops, and then we can say it's time for harvest.
He set up his hop farm on Sylt in 2004. The mild sea climate, the good soil, and the unpolluted surroundings make Sylt the perfect place to cultivate hops, says Kipka.
The reason the hops are as low as they are here is because we've introduced a special Anglo-Saxon variety which is suited to the sea weather. We also have very strong winds here in Sylt. We sometimes have force 10 or 11 winds. And if you see the usual pictures of hop farms in the south of the country, you will see all these huge high fields. But we can't do that here because storms would tear them all down.
Once the hops have been picked, it's time to go back to Flensburg for the next stage. This is where the fruit of the plant, the umbel, is picked and then dried. The hops are put into the beer later at another brewery. Thomas Kipka is a little nervous. The seasoning for the beer, made according to his own recipe, has to be just right.
Sometimes we only get one shot at it. Since all our production is natural, every bottle is produced individually and has to then sit for a while, so we can't afford to make any mistakes.
Kipka and his friend Jens Boysen first had the idea to make beer somewhat differently 10 years ago. They experimented with different types of hops on Sylt, tried out different recipes for flavoring the beer, and finally found a yeast normally used for champagne, which gives the beer its unique taste.
Today, if I think back to that time, it was a lot of work, but it was fun. And it's also fulfilling, unlike when you have a huge company, because here we see what comes out of it. Our employees and I are proud of every bottle.
The sparkling wine bottles are filled with the unusual beverage, a mix of beer, seasoning, and the special champagne yeast. Later, the boss checks personally if the yeast has settled in the neck of the bottle as it should. Similar to champagne production, the bottles are briefly opened after fermentation so that the yeast can spray out. Of course, all this work done by hand comes at a price. Each bottle costs almost 20 euros. Every detail has to be perfect.
Come over here. Right here. There at the bottom, you see that thing? When you see these marks, and if you place it like this, then you've got it. That's how you do it.
All his customers, from delicatessen stores to beer connoisseurs from across Asia, the US and Europe, want fast service.
Our furthest customer is in Tokyo. It takes 4 days to send these bottles there after they've received their labels. 4 days to Tokyo.
And each bottle of Sylter Hopfen has already been sold before it was even made. Around 20,000 bottles a year roll off the production lines. Thomas Kipka can hardly keep up with demand. He's now planning to enlarge his hop farm, but he says he'll never resort to mass production. Each bottle of Sylter Hopfen is and will remain a special handmade edition.